Best greetings, good evening, warm welcome. I would like to share this drill just to begin from Bapdada meditation, words spoken in meditation. Shanti.
संगम युग के आत्मक मौज के स्थिति में स्थित हो जाओ। इसी अनुभव में बार बार हर दिन में समय प्रति समय अनुभव करते रहना। सुने को नहीं छोड़ना।
warm welcome again. Such a moving experience to be put into this world of God's love. Just want to check if everything is working well, if you can hear translation, you can hear from here. One thing that came actually really early on yesterday was this aspect of detachment. It's like at which level, and was mentioned detachment of the actor independent from this, everything around the role in the body. And it was said it just means coming out of confusion, and the soul, the sign that the soul is clear, is seeing the physical world as really a story and how limited everything is. This role will end. It had a beginning, connecting to this immortal experience of the self, true self, soul, and the practice to engage in that world. But also aspect that Ravan says, why should I be detached? Because his whole mission is to create more and more bolstering of the identity in the story. So the homework was around these 4 areas of countering the fact that there is confusion. So coming out of confusion, first one, coming out of the bondages which come from darkness when there's not clarity. So countering that, and also the unconscious state when this Ravan energy is in charge. We are awakening the angelic soul, and the enemy is ruling. So unconscious state, angel is not even awake, and then enemy is ruling. So if we understand cracking this, then this has been a mastery of what it means to be free and alive to that love, God's love, love of souls. So would like to encourage any questions, any thoughts, feel free to share, and handing over to Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you, and hello, good evening. Yeah, we encourage interaction, also encourage to come in the camera also, those who are comfortable. That helps more in the atmosphere of involvement. We, at some point in our earlier retreats, we gave the example of a honeybee. Honeybee is happy with its life, with its wings and flowers. And you give this honeybee a honey pot. And the honey pot is a big gift for the honeybee. It's spending whole day trying to get a tiny fraction of a drop. And now it has got honey pot. But if after 15 minutes you see and you find that honeybee is drowning in the honey pot, then it is not a success. Now it has become a problem. The honeybee cannot breathe, suffocating in that honey and drowning. So in such a state, it is success for the honeybee to come out of the honey pot. That honeybee, whole honey pot, all sweet, everything is sweet all around, but it is going into the nose and ears, and it is suffocating. Our situation is more like this. We are having our own life, in which everyone has forgotten, and then we find ourselves in this amazing gift, great honey pot, but down the line we are at present suffocating in it. If there is any reason for sorrow, it is this world. Everything is very sweet, but something has gone wrong. And when this honeybee steps out of it, it discovers a life without suffocation, discovers the time when it can breathe normal, be normal again, and use the wings and discover the sky. Also, interact with the honeypot. Nothing wrong with the honeypot. Take fragrance, but don't lose your wings. So that is the little formula for us in this. You remain free so that you can discover your sky, and it is like rediscovering the sky and the wings and the life, what is normal. We saw yesterday, and I will be using the whiteboard. We have got this simple image that's all very important for us, these little reminders. Here is that honeypot that we are dealing with. And we saw that 4 areas we saw yesterday. One is the confusion. The second area, we have got into the bondage. Sticky. That honeypot is sticky. And that leads to the level where the soul is not even conscious, it is unconscious. But no one appears to mind. Everyone in life is going well, and they are all into progress because the enemy is ruling their life. So it is the enemy rule. Enemy is taking decisions, and so you get an idea of what is happening in the lives of everyone and in our own lives. In that context, we understand what effort we are making and what the obstacles will be. Here, the enemy is our ego, and ego, it is taking the form as if it is representing you. It is using the letter I. It is absolutely nothing to do with you. You had a completely normal life before, but now it is representing you. There are many of these. The Ravan has got 10 heads, so they fight amongst themselves. They fight with others and the ego of others. So that is the lie. But each of these ego is a product of ignorance. So that is what is going on. Now you understand why, what is this? No one is asking for this soul consciousness. They may be writing books, soul doesn't exist, God doesn't exist. They're happy because it's the rule of the ego. And it is at a personal level, but collective level. Whole world is in that spell of Maya and Ravan. So in such a state, if you create even 1 minute of being conscious, that is a success. It is like coming out of this honeypot for 1 second, 1 minute. You are able to breathe, getting glimpses of what it is like to be normal. Glimpses without suffocation, because we have forgotten that life. That this life appears to be normal. And psychologists and they say you study 100 people, they all are experiencing certain state of mind. They experience anger and sadness. They say this is normal. Animals also behave like this. So this is this is what to expect. You need a paras intellect to see the bigger map, to see what has happened to human beings. It is nice, one story by Dostoevsky, in that the dream of the ridiculous man. And in that story, he sees the perfection of the human being. And one sentence he uses in that story. Now I know what has happened to human beings after they sinned. After sin, what has happened? Because he saw what it was before. What is possible for human beings. Just as in your place, if you're some, carpet, if some part of the carpet was covered or behind a cupboard, something like this, and after 5 years, you see that carpet that was not touched and different color. So now what has happened to rest of the carpet, and what it was once upon a time. But you get used to the change in carpet, change in color, and you might not realize what has happened there. Same here, our contrast is like day and night. And a good thing for us is to revive this perfection, get a glimpse of it. That seconds, they are excellent. Getting glimpses, that is excellent. Creating these minutes, and then you see the clear contrast that helps our efforts. Let us create 1 minute now. And during this minute, we are using concentration. And we are just seeing the Supreme Home. We are aware this is the world beyond. We know this is the world of light. Story is a different thing. This is the region of light. We may see this in a certain color. The next step is we engage in that region. Engage. We are there during these minutes, during these seconds. We are actively experiencing that region. Maybe just experiencing the silence of this world and experiencing the light of this world. Aware of the presence of other invisible brothers. This is the home of the Supreme Friend. Aware of the presence of the Supreme Friend. Thank you. Just coming to little orientation. If we are to use the highest intellect and the highest sight, we got the best sight, we got the best intellect. and we have the option to use them. One request, those who come in the camera, try and create silence. Otherwise, you can turn it off also, camera, so that it should not be a distraction. So here we are seeing what will I see if I am to use the best intellect, best sight? What will be the scene? This is our journey. Spiritual journey is this. So you will see that everyone is immortal and everyone is beyond harm. These are powerful things. Story of immortality is a big thing for everyone. The moment you realize that you are beyond harm and you are immortal, then all this abnormal behavior, lower behaviors that exist, that disappears. Everyone in this world, if they are committing sin, if they are having greed, and if they are violent, just because of survival, they want to survive. In their confusion, they think they are going to die for some reason. And so they are ready to invent guns. When anyone realizes he's immortal, it changes the game completely. So here in this awake reality, everyone knows they are immortal. And when they know they are immortal, their whole life is freedom from this lower beggar mindset and the victim mindset. All that remains is noble. If we use the word invisible prince, it is more accurate than the word soul. Each one is an invisible prince. Such is the truth of everyone. Each one belongs to the King of Kings. And silently, their life is of bliss and love. They have a home that is eternal. And just a game changes completely. Everyone is loving. And that is all they know. Everyone is harmless. Everyone is childlike. The game is different. Means there is no defense. Here, the life we know is potential. We have to protect ourselves from everyone else. At least they are competing with me for some food or something. And we are, in our own way, being clever. This game is different. That's why we use the word divine reality here. And that is our experience. We all experience this. Divine reality means nothing inauspicious in the mind and in life. Everyone knew just this, and everyone's lovely, loving, and you love everyone. You're not begging that others should love, but you are experiencing this love, fullness. And now you are seeing this physical world. It becomes a gift, extraordinary gift. Every second is a gift. Just as for you, if you look at a cloud, it appears like a gift. It may be blue color, it may be pink color, it appears like a gift. It comes, it goes, sure, some other cloud comes, stars come, they all look like a gift. That's why we like to see them. Same is the attitude of the invisible princess towards this physical world. Every scene, every moment is a gift. That moment goes, that is, next moment comes. So they have a mindset of great joy and great appreciation, divine life, no drop of sorrow, no reason for desperation, desire. Everything is wonderful. Such is the experience and feeling of the whole community. So this is the journey. And then you understand what has happened when we cross the line. What has happened to human beings when they go into that cascade of confusion and creating bondage and then more bondage, because now they are going to die. They need more gold. So they are desperately trying to collect more things within that honey pot. And until they are not just suffocating, they are unconscious. And ego then is ruling the life, a bit like, full blast. The ego is demonic, it's the embodiment of ignorance and the embodiment of sorrow. They can just get bigger. That is the direction of our societies and each individual journey. Now you understand why this Nyara, why we have to step out. It is not just us and one option, but you are understanding how absurd to get into such a bondage with temporary, anything temporary. If you are creating a bondage, that is absurd. You may be meeting some person in a shop. You are just there for 10 seconds and you are going to go out, never going to visit there again. And you create a bondage to the shop or shopkeeper, and you are in trouble. You will be missing and just have a sorrow the moment you come out of the shop. Here we are watching a story. Grand performance, but it is still a story. Very convincing and very sophisticated on a big scale, but a story. But as we said, even if it is not a story, it is temporary. There is no reason to create a bondage. And even to create a little desire, you are in that shop and you are going to come out. There is no need to create a desire that should be of a green color. It shouldn't be pink color. It is not my business. I'm going to come out and not going to see it anymore. It is not in my control either. Same here. The invisible prince, he is not a beggar when he is passing through this. So there is no, internally at a deep level, nothing in that blue box can disturb him. Things change, they become green, they become blue, they come, go. Sure, he internally is 100% free. In that freedom, that life is one of celebration. We use the word celestial celebration. Supersensuous feelings are this. They are not because of the physical. His innate nature is of happiness. And happiness comes with friends. So that is what he experiences. And now the honeypot, as he starts getting drawn in this, layers after layers, until he completely forgets about his celestial life. Beautiful thing we mentioned yesterday, game of 1 second. Okay, we have gone into such a situation, darkness, but it is artificial. The problem is artificial. It is not a real problem. And because it is artificial, we can come out of it very quickly. Understanding has so much power. And more you reflect on it, see it, play with it, see the contrast, that is great news. And then you are able to say, yes, it is definitely important for me to become Nyara. So even as we were talking about this, it is a meditation for all of us, because we are seeing the life of the invisible prince in an objective way. We are just seeing what we will experience. And the viceless, of course, it is natural. All the vices are secondary to our bondage in this. More we get into the bondage, it brings sorrow, it brings vices, it brings ego, it brings desperations. And all these follow, ignorance, it is all secondary to this and bondage. Nyara, you become free, you become free from these vices. Yeah, feel free to, if you want to say anything. Instead, I want to add anything.
Question that came a little earlier, which may have been mishearing, but you could clarify. Why does believing that there is no God equate with ego? Or does it equate with ego?
No God, does it equate with ego? What we were saying, for ego, he is incapable of seeing the world beyond that box. Ego. One is he's not interested in the world beyond this, but also he's incapable, because ego means it is based on something within that box. Your ego is based upon the body or car or people. It is in the context of the box. Full identification is that. And so he's incapable of going beyond that, that world. That is his world. So he might still say God, God, but it is a God of the ego. Yeah, God, give me more gold, I will be pleased, I'll be very pleased. I'll pray for you, I'll build temples for you. But it is a God of the ego. The ego is not interested in the real God. The real God and the real soul, they want to be free from this ego. They see ego as product of confusion, an enemy of mankind.
Thank you. Hope it helps. I was just reflecting on this analogy of the shop, because an old job I had was shop design and was paid to care whether it was blue or green. And actually, I also felt at the time really didn't matter, but I was sort of having to pretend to mind or have an opinion. So it is in everything in life. I guess it's this fully playing the role, but there is not this intensity and high emotion about it. And we certainly need to fulfill these responsibilities, job, but I guess it just takes up that the ego department that is in confusion and creates sorrow and anger. A question here, is praying to God a bit like begging?
Most of the time, yes. What we see in the world outside, that is. There may be some other kind of, the word pray is very neutral, but the way it happens, it is begging.
Could you just expand a little bit more on what you mentioned, that it is artificial, the problem is artificial?
Sure. We sometimes use this image. There is a prince, and he's a prince. He owns the whole kingdom, and king loves him and he belongs to the king. But if he starts to believe that he's a beggar and completely forgets that he's a prince, can't be reminded even of the prince. He behaves like a beggar. He suffers like a beggar. He acts like a beggar, and his happiness is also of a beggar. Now, in such a case, there is a problem, but problem is artificial. It is not that there is some real crisis there. Crisis is artificial. If he wakes up and the whole thing finishes in 1 second, he is the prince right now, and he has everything right now. Our story is exactly like this.
Thank you. The analogy of the prince who thinks is a beggar really helps to understand the paradox. Just another question here. What are the signs of true Nyara in behavior? Is that something we could discern through the behavior of a person or ourselves?
Sure. I'm going to read a short passage, Baba speaking on Nyara, and that will give us some insight in this subject. And this is something we all, those who are studying the Murlis, it was spoken on 23rd of January. I'm just reading a few lines. And I might like to encourage you to revise it again. 23rd of January. So the words, Bapdada always teaches this lesson. Be Nyara and be extremely Pyara. Pyara, loving. You have to practice this for a long period of time. Listening to knowledge, giving knowledge to others, doing service are different things. But the practice of being Nyara is extremely necessary. In order for you to pass with honors, it is essential to pass in this practice. So, doubly underline paying attention to this practice. Only then will you become double light and attain the karmatit stage and claim a double crown. You became Brahmins. You claimed the right to the father's inheritance. You became godly students. You became enlightened. You became world servers. You have attained all of that fortune, but now, in order to pass with honors and come close to the karmatit stage, like Father Brahma, pay special attention to practicing being Nyara and bodiless. Brahma Baba gave you the practical experience of what it is to be Nyara before becoming karmatit. All of you share your experiences of this. He remained detached whilst listening. He remained detached whilst performing actions. He remained detached whilst speaking. He did not stop performing actions, doing service. He remained detached. And even on the last day, completed the service of the children. So detachment, being Nyara, easily brings the experience of success in every action. Try it and see. Speak to someone for an hour, and in contrast to that, listen and speak to another one for 15 minutes whilst stable in the stage of being Nyara. The success that you achieve in these 15 minutes would not be achieved in 1 hour. Father Brahma practiced this and demonstrated it to you. So do you understand what you have to do? So we are underlining this Nyara. For that first step would be becoming conscious. Yesterday we said there is 4 steps. The soul is not even conscious, and ego cannot become Nyara. It is the invisible actor understanding. The actor exists and the drama is a separate drama. So your question, how to practice this Nyara whilst performing action. The invisible actor becomes conscious and observes the drama that is going on. We'll create time and we'll create this practice. But even as we are listening to these discussions and asking questions, experiment with this. Right now, this is also drama that is going on. And Prashant is speaking, that is within drama. At the same time, the invisible actor is observing. He is Nyara. The invisible actor is the invisible prince. And his world is completely separate from this limited story. Happy to hear any next question or any comments.
So this question, how do we know if there is Nyara? Would you say it is reflected in the success? In a way, things would flow for the person and life would be easy for them. Is there a visible sign, or is it really happening such an invisible level that we don't really get the sign at the drama level?
The first sign are the feelings. As was said, the honeybee steps out of the honey pot. It is so obvious. He discovers life without suffocation. He discovers the huge contrast. What was before and what is now. He can use wings and he appears, can breathe normal. Same happens. You discover that mind where there is this burden is gone. There is freedom from the story. Nothing matters. Many things may happen, may be happening in future, but you are out of that burden. subconscious, something is there on everyone. Ego has got all this. During these seconds, minutes, you are out of it. Story becomes that gift, not a theory. We said every second is a gift and every moment is a gift. It is not a theory for the one who is conscious. For him, it is fun. And it is in that second, as we said, it is not a long process, it is now.
If there is a problem or challenge, should we hand it over to God in meditation?
First, just understand there is nothing to hand over to God. We are dealing with a story, and if you are handing over, it means you are seeing. If you are acting in a Cinderella and the ugly sister is creating problems, are you going to say, God, come and solve this problem with the ugly sister? Or are you going to be amused by this? So first apply this approach, that this is fun. And you are watching this fun in the company of God. Of course, if that is not, that strength is not there, then if you feel handing over to God that works, that is also, that is one option. But ultimately, we have to be amused by everything that is happening.
Something feels like it needs neutralizing. So first disposition of story, then the high emotions around it. We are like giving some medicine in a way to one of the heads of Ravan inside. So first that neutrality, distance, maybe by seeing it as a small drama, or the analogy of sometimes it's used the wet blanket. It's like just the coolness of the metaphorical image of a wet blanket, say. So coming above, coming behind, beyond, and then a different set of emotions, feelings emerge from the soul. A question in yesterday's session, it was mentioned, apparently there were two karmas, one of the king and of the soul. Is the karma of the actor separate from karma of the soul? So maybe a bit of clarification.
Sure. We were saying here, the invisible prince is passing through this story world, and in the story world there is a script. The story can be of the camel and the elephant and the dragon, and that is the way the script is. And if the soul is above the line, anything that is happening at that script, it is not his karma. It is not his problem. He is soul conscious, and he is observing the script and observing the dragon, or what the script is, even though he may be performing those actions, but he is the observer. And none of those karma pollute him. But he may be acting holy man also. But if he has crossed the line, that becomes his karma. Even getting impressed with that holiness, that itself becomes a karma. So the real, what we are concerned about, karma of the soul, as he gets into ignorance, as he gets into confusion and creating bondages, all these are karma of the soul, and they bring penalties to him. They are like a cause of the sorrow for him. to reflect on. Today it may not be having too much time to expand on this, but understand this area that as you create ego, it becomes a more severe karma. Just your thoughts about vices, they become a big heavy karma because it traps you, takes you into that spiral, downward spiral. And more you are yogi, more you are awake to this supreme reality. If the invisible actor is conscious, it becomes the highest karma because you are coming out of the spiral. You're coming at the right side of the line.
Thank you. Shall I ask a couple of extra questions?
Yeah.
So just to clarify, when we change the perspective to the one of the observer, isn't it that we create a different reality based on the new perspective?
Yes, that is great, but there is a script to the drama. Whatever it is, you are, as we said, even if there is holiness in the script, but if you have crossed a line, because of the holiness, that is also becomes negative karma. It is very useful for us to understand this dotted green line, and are we crossing that line or are we on the right side of the line? But right now here we are discussing this, but internally to check, am I crossing the line or am I on the right side of the line? That is all that matters at the end of the day.
The intensity around creating a different reality in a story, excuse me, the energy wouldn't be on wanting to create a different reality in a story if the soul is behind the line. I guess when that is there, and that reality that is experienced is the home, the atmosphere, so that it's like the reality of the soul is different because he's woken up. Maybe this. Just a question: if Cinderella is troubled by the ugly sister, will the ugly sister be troubled by Cinderella in the next life?
Okay, whatever the script, we are not going in that, not in today's discussion. There is a script in the drama.
Do we delete the past karma by being constantly above the line?
Yes, you settle the whole account, whatever the past, by changing the posture. Just as if I am sitting in a wrong posture, it brings pain. All that is required, change the posture, and then pain disappears. It might not matter when you sat in the wrong posture and how you did it. You come back in the right posture, and then nature doesn't want to give you pain. So the moment you come on the line above and staying in that space, your aim is to dissolve this ego that are created in the past. They will dissolve if you are on the right side of the line. And that is settling of the old accounts. Because this ego are stubborn. They want to bring you back in the wrong posture.
Thank you. You can, if you feel like continuing on,
Yeah, we'll come to the experience, and during this experience, it is good for everyone to create silence and stillness. That is not a time to move around or to give a good chance to practice. Concentrate. Few words we will use. We will, of course, need the best sight, best light, the best intellect. In that environment, we can see clearly. It is an antidote to the confusion and ignorance. And we are clearly seeing that there is the temporary physical world. Physical, it is, we can see it's changing in front of our eyes. And its true nature is fictional. Lots going on there, but it is fictional. That includes the scene, and that includes Prashant talking. That is all happening in that story world. This intellect, Paras intellect, helps us to see the world beyond. Story is not the only reality. There is the main world is beyond the story. We see this in the image of a sky with the living stars, tiny points. These are the true players. We use the word, they are the invisible travelers, invisible observers. But they are like tiny points. We find it absolutely amazing. It is tiny points experience. They are the only ones who experience this universe. And we are seeing it in an obvious way. This environment, Paras environment, helps the true self to become conscious. And one who is conscious, he understands his presence, his invisible nature. For him, it is normal to be immortal. And it is normal to belong to that sky. He belongs here. It is natural. He is from that world. It is normal to belong to that family of souls. They are his very dear brothers. He knows they all are like him, desireless, sorrowless, egoless, noble beings, beings of bliss and love. It is normal for him that all are like this. He also can clearly see this physical world as a fiction that is so obvious to him. also knows his complete independence from that fiction. Knows his independence. Independence means what happens in the story doesn't matter to anyone. Certainly, it doesn't disturb him. Neither he needs anything from the story nor story needs him. Independent. He may get involved in the story, he may observe the story, but he knows his complete independence. He finds it strange that anyone would go in that story and create bondages unnecessarily. They are all eternal princes and they got complete world and life. He finds it strange, absurd, bringing sorrow for nothing. The invisible player is aware that he is very lucky to start with. This whole physical world is like a great gift. He's independent, he's free from it. That's why he can appreciate it for what it is. Every moment is a gift. But he also is aware of his life with God. Worthy to be loved by God. Worthy to be loved by all. Anyone who is free like this naturally becomes egoless and viceless and sorrowless, desireless. That is the extraordinary thing. He knows that all are like this, all are worthy to be loved by God and are loved by God. They belong to God. He is not asking God to do some favors, but he feels there is a right there. He belongs. It's a different dynamics. He feels worthy to have company of God. Lucky, he understands he is lucky. Lucky because he is dealing with the real world, not a story. The true family, true father, true home. He is dealing with a world that is eternal. It is not that he got a great life and it is going to end tomorrow. No, this is timeless and forever. That's why there is value. Also, from this angle, from the angle of the invisible player, everything appears perfect. Everyone appears perfect. They are great and lovely, divine beings, worthy of respect. Home is perfect and the father is perfect. Self appears perfect, the true self. But the drama also is perfect as a drama. And a dragon is playing his part and there is Cinderella playing her part. Everything is perfect. In an Iron Age, you will get Iron Age plots, perfect Iron Age plots. And nothing matters. Invisible player is free from the whole thing. But at that level of the drama, it's a perfect drama. That is why the life of the invisible player is one of celebration. There is no reason for anything inauspicious in him or in others. The interaction with everyone is of celebration, silent celebration. What happens in any celebration? There is sense of belonging, there is respect, love, there is happiness, fullness. There is benevolent feelings. Same here in this eternal dynamics is of immense love, immense respect, full happiness. There is eternal security here. You belong here. Small little word of the father and the family. This is the happy word. This is a lovely word. And this is an eternal word. Thank you. Happy if we are planning to go to the rooms, and then also we'll create more time afterwards. If there is any immediate question, that is also okay.
Yeah, maybe the team might need just a couple more minutes. Thank you for this opportunity to keep the contrast, and it may in some way answer this question, but we'll ask it anyway. Sometimes it is hard to see what is right or if it is Ravan. How can you know whether one should reject or accept, I guess, the thoughts that come?
Sure, discuss, any of these situations, discuss with your immediate teachers, seniors, and if you need some clarity about it. And then if once you create that time to see the contrast yourselves, then it will become easier to know.
Yeah, thank you. So there are no other questions right now, but if there's something you wanted to build on, maybe just we can have another 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. We have spoken on different stories at different times. One story that is very, very much in connection with this message is how the caterpillar changes into butterfly. one life of the caterpillar. Caterpillar, his life is of eating cabbage and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and thinks that that is success. But to become butterfly, do you know what it has to do? What is the in-between phase? We call it pupa. So what happens during this phase? You can type.
It sheds its body, it has a deep rest.
Deep rest, that is right. But during that rest, he dissolves the whole of his, it creates this shell around in that pupa phase. Shell is created and the caterpillar dissolves the bones. Everything of it dissolves, including the salivary glands and intestines and skin. It may metaphorically dissolves his bones. It becomes a soup, protein-rich soup inside that shell, and that protein-rich soup that is transformed into the wings and becomes butterfly. Same here also. Whatever we may be at a phase that is a larva phase, when the game was to get bigger and bigger and bigger, more in any area. Some into attachments, more. They want a cat and dog and children and grandchildren, more. Some money, more gold. And these are all larva stages. Then next stage, we have to dissolve our attachments, bring it to zero. Inside all this ego is the one that has created these attachments. Everything, including attachment to this body, attachment to other, these are all from the ego. To create attachments in a story, one has to be mad. Ego is the product of that confusion and ignorance. Ravan is embodiment of madness. That's why he can behave like that. So here you are seeing that contrast, see the absurdity of this whole thing. And you want to dissolve the whole thing. Then you become truly loving. Nyara is not dangling inside the ignorance. Then you are not really loving either. You are maybe loving Cinderella, but you are completely ignoring yourselves even, and ignoring their true family. This whole thing is waste in that state. So as the ego dissolves, you will find the true you wakes up. Otherwise, they are just nice ideas. Soul appears to be a nice idea, invisible player, nice commentary. But as the ego dissolves, you are seeing the wonder of this. What we are talking about, the invisible player and invisible prince, that is like an extraordinary thing. And being of bliss and love, what we are talking about. And the whole thing has to get into experience, not just nice commentary. But for that, this ego has to dissolve. The larva has to dissolve. If you dissolve the full larva, then you get full wings. If you dissolve the bones fully, then you get full wings. If you dissolve half the bone, you get half the wing. So now is the game to dissolve larva. You be friend of the butterfly, pro butterfly, not pro larva.
Sounds like a good campaign. It's good to know the game. Then the dismantlement that's happening is all good material for dissolving. We know what this time is meant for. So amazing, the spiritual perspective, but it's slippery, of course, but principally very, very clear. So let's take a break now. Do you have anything you would like to highlight as a focus or a question for the rooms, Prashant?
Be connected with this butterfly. If any bones are still there to be dissolved, or do you want to hold on to any bones of larva?
And further to that, how can one dissolve the bones? Maybe?
Yes.
Metaphorical. Okay. So something to maybe start off the conversation, but of course around what has been shared and your thoughts. And so enjoy the discussion. We'll meet back in around 10 or 15 minutes. And we will be joined afterwards by special guest speaker from London. So we'll meet you soon. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. So nice everyone sharing, and this topic. We're just going to create a pause just for maybe 1 minute, and then we will be hearing a bit more from you all. Thank you. Welcome back. We're first going to go to New York and welcome Catherine, who was in Cambridge studying business school, now relocated. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sarah and everybody. I'm really enjoying the discussions from yesterday and today. And I think one of the things that we were kind of all hitting on in our group just now was that how this process of metamorphosis and becoming the butterfly, it's a gradual process, and it's something that actually enables us to kind of shed the ego and start shedding these identities that we have created for ourselves, and actually getting a chance to get to know ourselves, our true selves. And one of my comments was that sometimes we think this idea of metamorphosis is going to be easy, right? It's going to be so easy to just become the butterfly. And it really is a matter of looking within. And I think sometimes it's much more difficult than we expect it to be. And it can bring up a lot of fears and anxieties about, again, who are we without these identities? Who are we without these attachments? But once you start letting go of those and you start going through this process, you really just start to see yourself as a spiritual being through truth, and start seeing the true family, and then knowing that, you know, the supreme being and that the Father is with you through this entire process. It's a comfort that brings courage to continue to move through this process of detachment and coming out of the confusion. And I think that was something that we all kind of touched on in one way or another.
Yeah, thank you. Aspect of courage is really helpful to focus on that, and your clarity about the true self. And we actually rediscovering something, and it was nice to pop into this discussion in your room and get a feeling of all the different angles on this. So nice to get connected again. And we're going to go from New York to London and welcome Margaret, who just to remind the translation team. So I know everything in London is fast, so it's a warm welcome.
Do the best to speak slowly. In this transformation of from a caterpillar to a butterfly, the scientists talk about something called imaginal cells that actually don't exist in the caterpillar, and they start to form as the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, and there's the breakdown of the caterpillar. It's like dying, really, and it becomes that soup. These imaginal cells that didn't exist before start to start to emerge and cluster together. And then these clusters start to form, the wings of the butterfly, the antennae, the thing. So, the butterfly is a completely different creature than the caterpillar. But I think this kind of interesting analogy of the imaginal cells and fits in very nicely with what we're discussing is that we have to work with something that's not so obvious in the physical world. So in the physical world, you're like the caterpillar, you're on the ground, you're just crawling along. And then these imaginal cells allow us to think completely differently than the caterpillar. So they allow us to, dream a new reality. And included in that dreaming a new reality is that we are these beings from the soul world. We are these beings that are already beautiful. It's not that we've got to become it. We already are it, but we have to let go of all the thought patterns that make us think that we're not. And of course, ego wants to make us think that we're not when we already are. And so these, we can use this bit about the imaginal cell to know that that is the true reality. It's already the true reality. We just have to envision it. We have to think about it. We have to explore it. And then it becomes the reality. And one thing that many things came up in the group, some very beautiful things came up about kind of letting, like shredding that old identity, the things that hold us to, which is again what Catherine said, it's not about improving the character, it's about letting go. And the truth gets revealed, truth is revealed. But one thing that came near the end, and maybe Brother Prashant could speak a little bit about this more, is that we have to make it an enjoyable experience, that it can't be, too hard work, or, it has to be, we have to enjoy taking ourselves to the soul world and being in our truth. We have to make it like such a kind of interesting and enjoyable experience that you want to do it. But I think the line that struck me was that all that matters is that you're beyond the line. And what a generous way of looking at everything, that as soon as you really get yourself beyond the line and that becomes your reality, all your past karma just doesn't exist. Just like yesterday doesn't really exist. It's only a memory. And it's like when we move into the truth, the rest won't exist for us. And that is just, how many other, no one else is saying that you can really just move to a different position and the rest just falls away. So, but Prashant can maybe share with us a little bit more how to make it a really enjoyable experience, so that we wake up in the morning, we so want to do this. So Om Shanti.
Thank you, Margaret. So we're going to segue to Prashant for this. I think it's a speciality to be light, but also have the, I don't know if you call it seriousness, but yeah, serious and light. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, very good. And I think it's so nice to see Catherine again, and thank you for your sharings, Catherine, and thank you, Margaret. And thank you for giving me the job. And it is a very necessary subject, how to make it enjoyable. We often use the word, even our 1 minute practice, it is a play. to play with it, play with an idea. And that is my attitude, to see it. We are playing with these new ideas, playing with the practices. We have tried another approach. In the Murlis, we hear this cluster of different practices. When you are playing, it always becomes fun. Children want to play. It may be they have to jump and they have to run, but they want to do it. And in the process, there is progress. So this is from the first second, we have to get into this thinking. They are playing with it, and it is definitely fun and enjoyment. But further, what happens is, yes, you are dealing with the angel there, and you are becoming free from the demon. That is really what is happening underneath. It definitely you will find it enjoyable and much more than enjoyment. You are dealing with something that you did not plan or did not believe. It is the whole thing is beyond belief. We are literally talking about God. We are not having the belief of God, but life with God, and it's a new life. We are talking about this soul waking up and discovering the angelic prince and immortality, but also your contribution, what is possible for the future of this human society. You're discovering all this. This is fun. Also, to be free from deep inside everyone, we want to be free from certain weaknesses. We know something is not right, but do not know what to do about this, other than just pretend that you are nice person, this kind of thing, and hide the weaknesses. Here you are getting a real method where you really become clean. You know the roots of different weaknesses. That becomes enjoyable. But let us hear from Margaret. Your whole journey is enjoyable and fun. So what is your secret?
Similar, really, to make it a game. Not saying that it always happens like that, but definitely the mind tends to work in games and puzzles and things like that. And yes, I love the fact that it's a story. Growing up, was very interested in stories, and I think this concept of it being a story is such a great way to cut through the ego. And when I first heard its story, I don't know if I could really accept it, to be honest. I was thinking, well, it is a bit more like a drama, really, and maybe because I was more dramatic. But I thought, no, it's more like a drama. But as you start working with it's just a story, it really helps you put a full stop quite quickly. So something might be going on, and you just say, oh, it's only a story, and it really puts a full stop, or it helps relieve yourself when you say, Baba, for the last half hour, I was completely caught up in the story. But it sort of cuts it all, and it's like you can start again. So this concept of the story is really worth working with. So.
Yeah, that's very clear and nice. One thing I might like to add, it is possible. Those who are making spiritual efforts, in some cases, you feel as if it is a hard work, this kind of thing. What really happens, if you are in one boat, you enjoy the journey. But if you are in two boats, then it becomes difficult. One boat is going in one direction, other boat is going in another direction. If your one leg is in one boat, other leg is in another boat, then it becomes a hard job. So here, ego will have his agenda. Ego wants to become a bigger ego. That is the absolute agenda of the ego. So internally, if someone says, this is going to go, I'm not going to work for the ego anymore. Now it is time for something different. Understood it, but taken a decision, then it becomes fun. It is guaranteed to become fun. But if the feet are in two boats, it will create, it may appear like a hard work. And it is, understandably, because one day you are thinking something is right, and another day something else is right. Let us hear from Sarah, if any other comments, questions.
On this topic of fun, one would like to know, or comment, I'd like to know from yourself how we can have fun with the drama from the soul who is behind the line. Because actually, the comment was being totally beyond the drama is much more enjoyable. How can we actually enjoy whilst the soul is here? Is the question clear?
Okay, so what happens really, the ego has, the enjoyment of the ego is based on ignorance. So if there is a drama, he is not understanding the drama, but he enjoys. There is a rabbit in the drama. I like the rabbit. He creates attachment to the rabbit, and he says, "Oh, rabbit is so nice." But rabbit comes and rabbit goes. Something else comes, and then he cries. But one who understands the bigger map, he enjoys the drama. He enjoys the plot. He enjoys rabbit, and rabbit goes, and fox comes. He enjoys the fox. He enjoys every moment of it. All that has happened coming out of childishness to an adult. And the truth, as we are mentioning, truth is immensely beautiful. Truth for everyone is beautiful. Everyone is good. Everything is good. But it is the childishness that brings, complications and the childish intellect. So whether we call it, spiritual effort or soul consciousness, using different intellect, all these steps are to dissolve ego. We understand what is there, but to make that stage stable and permanent and natural, ego has to dissolve. In the meantime, whatever that you found accurate and easy, create more time. That is the simple program. If you find one practice easier, like we were talking today, invisible actor understanding, this is a theater, and we repeatedly say Prashant is talking. That is happening in a theater, and the invisible actor is watching this. An invisible actor has got his world, and his life is with God, and his world is of immortality. As you are playing with it, you are already dissolving ego, because in the environment of truth, it is like a darkness disappears, light comes.
I get the feeling sometimes it's more like a science because it's precise. And some, we may think sometimes spirituality, there's a little bit of vagueness, but actually it's not at all. If we really using it and checking it, getting refined accuracy, it's very precise thing. Comment was yes, making more time. That was a helpful aspect. Maybe one more question that came on the caterpillar butterfly theme. How do we know there is no caterpillar left, or is this like a lifelong process?
Sure. At the moment, if the avyakt, the invisible, and that alakik, that dimension is natural, then it means it is a butterfly, and caterpillar is not left. If your attention goes repeatedly in the story and it matters, it is something, your thoughts are around that, or if the story bothers, some things in the story bothers you, but there's pull, push, then it means the caterpillar is still alive. Ego is still alive. When ego disappears, you are internally 100% free from the story. And it becomes a story. It is there, but you are not slave to the story.
As Margaret said, the word story is such a main thing. And what you just said, there's no, the word, but like bondage. If you're playing Monopoly, there is something intense whilst playing, but when you remember it's a game, you got a chance to be cool, but they're just plastic pieces and paper notes. So it has no value in the real world. So this aspect of story or play or game, it really deflates, so that energy of reducing it right down to this, it's not affecting your real world. It's very helpful. So we've come to time, and I don't know whether you have anything you'd like to share to wrap up, and then we'll share some details about the next retreat.
The simple areas of revision. I might encourage to read that passage in the Murli of 23rd, and you get direct Baba's words, how Baba is speaking on this. Translation, that is word used, is detached. Understand, Baba is using the word Nyara there, and showing how that one step of Nyara connects you to the life of Pyara, life of love.
And keep some ongoing homework, play work, we call it. You can put a copy of the Murli in the G drive as well. So we would like to share that in 3 weeks, the topic we can take as identification, and profound subject, and it'd be nice to create some time to focus on this. So it's a different time, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. But if you are if it's a bit early for you, I think some in California may not be able to make this one, but you can always register and get the recordings. So we'll put the links in the chat, and we'll send email. Just to mention, do keep in touch by registering on the mailing list, because then we will be able to send you. It says January. No, okay. So we will we'll be sharing a drill for reflection to close, and just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, and special thanks to the translation teams and for your efforts, and the group that helps put everyone in the right room, incognito, behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And let's close with some meditation from Madhaban Shanti.
सेकंड में अपने दिल में ये cells.